Hello, my beautiful guys and dolls, and welcome to an episode of Before the Curtain. I'm your host, Abbie Campbell, and we will be diving into the world of live entertainment. We will uncover what it takes to put on a show, and artists will reveal their stories of how their creations went from idea to reality. We are determined to uncover everything that happens before the curtain. Our guest today is a trailblazer in the Las Vegas Latin entertainment scene. With over 15 years of experience, this talented artist excels in her specialties as a choreographer, producer, teacher, and director. She joins us today to discuss the creation of the Las Vegas Dance Movement, a company that provides clients with versatile dancers for concerts, music videos, private events, atmosphere, and go-go dancers. They also provide classes for professionals and the attendees in Latin fusion, salsa, merengue, reggaeton, and more. Beyond this, she also leads the M&M Show, planning and organizing events, creating artistic performances, and bringing an unparalleled vibe to the scene. They grace multiple venues across Las Vegas, including Brewdog, Mas Por Favor, and Sand Dollar. A woman of innovation, please help me welcome to the mic, Mayra Cortes. Hi. Okay, right. That's where the audience comes in and cheers. So we're going to get right into it. When did Las Vegas Dance Movement become an idea?
Ooh. So I don't think Las Vegas Dance Movement would have happened if it wasn't for the M&M Show.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
all right, vice versa. So how did the M&M Show come to be then? Or the idea of it?
Okay, so the M&M Show, it became a thing when I met my now husband.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Max. He's the other M in the M&M Show. M&M, so Mayra and Max.
That's so cute.
I know it is, but we were just friends back then. So it actually started because of that. Being part of the Latin community, it makes you, I guess, go out and dance a lot socially. So more than stage performance and all that, it's part of what we do. So social dance. And there was a while there where there was a lot of separations. Every community you see separation of people, and just the community felt kind of spread out. So, him and I, loving to go dance to every place, we're like, why don't we just create a space where everybody's welcome and kind of feels like they don't have to belong to a studio or belong to a company. They can just come and just do what we like to do, which is dance. That's the whole reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I love to dance. And I think just sharing that space and energy with other people, I think that's why everything started, and the fuel of oh my god, we can do this for the community. Oh my god, we can do this for the community. Still to today, I don't think we do a lot for ourselves. We do it for the love of dancing, but we do it because we want to keep providing that to others, that happiness that dance gives us. So that's just kind of how the M&M Show started, and then from there, just I guess providing that space, and venues started to reach out to us. So it was really good, because we've till date never gone to a place and been we want to create space. It's always been, which is I'm very blessed for it. It's always been can you guys come put something together here? And I think that says a lot. I think about the way we work and the way that, with the, I guess, passion and the reason why we do things. I think that is contagious, and people want that in their venues or restaurants or clubs. They want that. So just starting with the M&M Show, I think it was the first thing in my brain that was oh my god, I can do something. I want to really do something. I want to get people together. How can I do that? What's the next step? What can we tie this in with? And it just was, I think, a good feeling. My husband and I are service people. We like to just, here, come have fun, And then from there, just the M&M Show started, and people just started asking us hey, can we record? It started with recording, can we record you guys dancing? The thing that we used to do, we picked the name the M&M Show because we used to basically create a mini show during the night. Mm-hmm. So we used to have percussionists like timbal and conga, and then we used to bring people from other countries or other states to come perform in like these venues that we had. And just the vibe, like we used to do animations, and it just became a thing. And from there, people started going, recording, started getting known all over the world. And then it became like a habit of like, do you know anyone that we can bring to this or do to that? So it all of a sudden became a little bit of an agency.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's fun. Like, let's do the next thing. Like, what can we provide? Like, what can we do? What can we add? And just being a dancer, I'm like, well, as a dancer, I get this jobs. So maybe I can create those jobs for people or those opportunities for people. So yeah, that's kind of how the Las Vegas movement also started, I guess, from the M&M Show.
Yeah, it sounds like you just... So then how did you do your first event as the M&M Show if you didn't... Did you have to pitch that to a location or a...
So... The first spot we ever got was Firefly. I don't know if you ever heard of Firefly. It was like a tapas, Spanish tapas spot. It was on Paradise. Before I even came into the picture of salsa or the Latin world, they had, I don't want to lie, I want to say it was Tony Rico, who's also my director. He had a Tuesday night salsa spot there. Mm-hmm. From there, it just came to one thing to another, and then we ended up getting a Friday night, which the night lasted like 8 years.
Wow.
Like a consistent Friday night for 8 years. Yeah.
That's incredible. And this started back when?
2012.
Wow.
2012. Yeah, it's crazy. I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, oh my God, when did we start the M&M Show? And my husband's like, 2012. And I'm like, that's crazy. Yeah, we got this. He got the opportunity to be a DJ for this restaurant. And from there, he's such a creative too person. I kind of like for a while loved just jump on the wagon. Like he gets these crazy ideas, and I'm like sometimes the one that makes it happen or just gets organized to make it happen. But creatively, he's a very creative person. So he was kind of like, hey, like, let's do this together. Let's be a team. He's all about being a team because he plays basketball. So he's like, let's be a team. Like, we're best friends. We love to dance. We love to do this and share this. Like, let's create this space. And just started promoting, doing all the work, going to studios, telling people come dance. Like the night became huge. Still to today, if I say like, hey, I do Latin events, or like, did you ever go to Firefly? And then I'm like, yeah, actually.
You're like, so funny story about that.
I know. It just happened to me recently with a girl that made my tattoo. She was kind of like, yeah, I used to work at this place, and their Latin was the best thing in the world. And then I'm like, where? She's like, Firefly. I was like, that's fun. That's good to know. Like, it's still till today, people still remember that place. Like, every time we have something, they're like, oh my God, remember Firefly? Like, these things. It's hard to recreate that because I think it lasted for so long, like 8 years, and every space is different. But that space was very unique because it was like a patio.
Okay.
So it was like an outside vibe. The lighting was gorgeous. Mind you, it was like a little square, and people used to even dance in the parking lot because it was so packed and so full. And people would go there even on the winter. And then in the winter, we moved to like a little space as well. Like dancers dance anywhere, to be honest. But like Firefly was like the spot that created the M&M Show, or even myself that created Mayra in a way, like, you know, LV movement. So yeah, that's how the M&M Show started.
That's incredible. That you just saw a like opening in your community and you kind of just filled that, and it sounds like it worked out really easily just because everybody was kind of looking for that kind of glue to bring people together.
Yeah.
And then for it to also create such a lasting impact. That's crazy.
It's crazy. We still get hired till today for events and venues based on Firefly.
Wow.
People just wanting to recreate it and do it. And I'm very happy now that there's so many places where people can go and dance that actually have, if not the same, a very similar format than what we've done for years. We're not 100%. We're not people that created these concepts, but we feel happy that so many people are doing it and creating space for others. Like, that's one thing my husband and I always are like, wait, our goal got accomplished. Like, there's venues now that welcome everyone. They're so accepting. Like, that's the trend. That's what we wanted to recreate. Like, we don't care about if it's the same or like, to me, that's like pointless. Like, our dream, our goal was create a space that welcomes everyone. And I think we did that. And I'm really proud of that. Even yesterday, I was like, you know what? I'm really proud of what we've done so far. Like, we have so much history. We've always done it together. And I think that's like also tells a lot of like who we are as people, because we just really were like, this is our dream. Let's make it happen. How can we make it happen? My husband's very good with music. Like, every day he's at home with music, trying to find the next best song to play at a social to create that energy for people. So like, yeah, we do our homework and we do our work. Like, we take it serious, like very serious. Like, even as a couple, like, we never fight. And when we argue, it has to be about how can we make it better? How can we make it grow? Like, no, I don't want this. Yes, I want this. So yeah, it's been very interesting. And just with that, the Vegas dance movement, I don't think I've ever told him this, but the Vegas dance movement started because of him. Yeah.
I hope he's listening.
I
hope he hears this.
Yeah, because of him. It started because of him, but I think he doesn't really consciously know that. And it was because he pushes me. Like, he pushed me a lot back then to be... There's a 10-year difference between him and I. And we were friends for years because of this age gap, but we've always been best friends and we've always worked together. And he would just tell me like, you could do better, like you can do this, like look at this, like you have like this talent to get people together and like, you know, use it, like do something, like, you know, make it work. And he originally started a company. The name was Symphony, and like Sin City, but like Symphony. And it was like
that's
12 group member girls. He just, based on me, I guess, he was kind of like, hey, like, I want to do this. I want a group of girls that are strong and powerful and talented that could create this in the salsa scene, like a stamp. I think what people don't know is in the salsa scene, there, for many years, there's been, till now, there's been a lack of like me as a salsera, like, it was hard for me to get booked or hired.
Like, specifically here or just in general?
Specifically in Vegas.
Okay.
For one, I'm like Mexican. And back in the day, like, I didn't know any Mexicans in the industry, like in the dance industry. And then being a Latin dancer, you kind of get caged into being a Latin dancer. So it was kind of like, let's create an opportunity or like to invite professional dancers to come into our world and see that you can do what they can do, but can they do what you can do? You know what I mean?
Okay, so back, you said it was kind of hard to be booked as a Latin dancer, and you said that you kind of wanted to create a space where you were inviting other professionals into your world?
Yeah. I think for many years as a professional dancer, it was difficult to get booked in Vegas. Especially back in the day when, I don't know if you were here at that time, and I also don't know how much older I am than you, but back in the day, I was the youngest one of like in the industry. And I remember just going to auditions and being so difficult for me to get booked, because before in Vegas, it was all about blonde, blue eyes, boobs, the stereotypical
showgirl, tall, gorgeous, stunning, like can just walk into a street and just stop traffic.
Exactly.
Yeah, like showgirl.
Exactly. I've always had a little bit of a benefit because I'm a tall Latin girl, which is rare as it is, you know, because I've been tall, but it was always a struggle to not be like the Latin dancer or like the salsa dancer. Because I feel like everybody that knows me is like Mayra the salsera, you know, like they just know me as that. And then I was just kind of like, you know what, if that's what I'm going to be known as, I'm just going to brand myself as that and be the only one. And I was like, you know what, you want to like box me in this title? I'm like, okay, then I'm going to be like the best representative of that And I'm going to do everything in my power to give opportunity to other Latin women to be able to be exactly that, you know? Because like I said earlier, like I feel like I can come into any industry and try to do what they do, and more than likely in the most humble way do it. But it's really hard for somebody in our industry to come into my world and do what I do. So I'm like, you know what? Like, you know, my husband started symphony for the same reason, just tying it together. He's like, you know what? Let's get industry girls to come into, you know, our world and put the best show ever and give them an experience, and give also the Latin industry a little bit of the experience of Vegas life or Vegas industry. And I was like, sure, let's do it. Like let's be what they want us to be and be the best at it. Like let's represent the Latin community in Vegas and make it Vegas, you know, like with everything, the glitz, the glamour. And yeah, that's what we did. And we tied that with putting events together. So like we gave the Latin events in the Latin world like a touch of industry. Because I think for a while, I always felt like I was part of two different worlds. Like I used to separate them because I was like, Latin world is this and industry professional is this. So, you know, I need to separate. And then him and I were like, no, let's just mash it together and make one big thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we did. And based on that is when my little brain started going, like, how can I create a group of like women or men or people where they have the freedom to have short hair and blonde, or long hair, or be shorter or be tall. Like every client looks for something different. Every venue looks for something different. But it's like, I think what you do with it that creates like this little, how can you say it? Like this little world. Like, I don't know how to explain it because I want to say it in Spanish and it's definitely not going to sound right in English. I'm like, how can you say it? We wanted to create a space where everything was very inclusive, like very, you know, which nowadays I'm like, oh man, if I would have started dancing like now where everything is good, it would have been awesome. But back in the day, it was just one thing, you know? So breaking out of the mold and breaking out of those like Vegas,
like those boxes, like the box that you were put in, you know, it's kind of like you were put in the box. You said, okay, well, I'm just going to fill the box up and then I'm going to expand the box so that it can now be a foundation for others and a foundation for other opportunities. And let's like start throwing more in here and see what we can create. And over the years, it sounds like it's evolved so much where you've kind of broken the box, because it's like now you are tying everything together and you have brought those people together.
The world.
Yeah, which is amazing to think about and realize that you've done that for so many people, and even people who attended the events and still talk about it to this day, like Firefly.
Yeah.
You know, if those are just people who attended, I can only imagine the performers and the artists that you've impacted as well on your journey.
It's been I feel like I think like right now that I'm getting a little bit older, I'm realizing that like the impact or the effect that we've had, even like people that are around me. Like I don't know if you know, but like the M&M Show had the M&M Show dance crew. And we basically was a group of like young majority Latin women and men. And my whole goal with that was like, I want to make sure that, you know, Latin people have the same opportunity as other people. So that's another thing why I'm like, how can we do this, you know? And like a lot of the girls that started training with me when they were like 16, 17 are now like 21, 22, 23, 24. And I'm seeing them booked and working everywhere. And I'm just so proud of them. I'm like, you know what? This is all I wanted to accomplish. Like to see more Latin people in our industry and seeing them working so hard. Because that's another thing, like with me, and I think I say this in like auditions or anything I do, I'm like, if you're not humble and hardworking, you can't work with me. That's just how I am. Like, I don't care how tall and beautiful and talented you are. Like, if you don't have the right work ethic and you're not humble, it's so hard like for me to work with you. I think that's my only pet peeve. But these girls have been training with me since they were younger. Like you see them now, and like I've had people come to me and be like, I know that you train them because they show up. Like they show up ready. Like they show up hair, makeup ready. You don't gotta say two things to them twice. Like that's like a big, I guess, like checking off my box of things, you know? I'm like, yes, I influence someone and I help them, and that's the same thing that our events. I think we do everything with so much care and love and passion, and our events are like that space where, like I said, everybody feels welcome, and everybody feels like they can belong somewhere. You know what I mean? Like feeling of belonging is difficult, especially in our industry, because you know, you go to auditions that look for something specific, or you go to venues or events where you even feel out of place, just things like that. So I think that was our whole concept with the M&M Show, Las Vegas Dance Movement. The M&M Show Dance Crew was just creating a platform and a space where everybody's welcome. So that part I'm like really proud of. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, you know, I've been to auditions where I'm a short dancer. And like thanks. But where I've gone into auditions for, you know, different kinds of burlesque shows or different shows on the Strip, and I just look around and I have to look up because I'm looking around and I'm short and everybody else is tall. I'm like, why am I here? You know, in those kind of moments where but then I've also been in an audition room with you and for you, and it's like the amount of more like welcoming and just like that you can express yourself and be exactly who you are in that room is, you know, such a magical place to create in such a professional setting, because there's also so many times where you can be in a professional setting and not feel that way,
but not feel welcome. It's so hard. There's just not feeling welcome in your job, or like we're already as professionals sacrifice regular 9 to 5 security. We sacrifice our bodies. We sacrifice our mental health, like being stressed out about things, going to auditions, being told you can't because of this. Or sometimes it's not on us. Sometimes it's not even on me as like a business owner. Sometimes it's on the client. But like even giving everybody an opportunity to enter a roster and being like, you know what, when the opportunity presents, there's going to be an opportunity for you. Like that's so hard and so difficult nowadays, like to get or to feel. Even though now I feel like we made a lot of progress with, you know, shapes, sizes, heights being welcome and accepted, but you still feel it sometimes, like internally, those internal traumas when you show up somewhere. I'm like, am I too Latin for this gig? Or am I too like not fit for this? Or am I too tall? Or am I too dark? Like whatever it is, even me, I have those complexes in my head where I'm like, oh my God, like it's so many years of experience, but you still feel, every time you walk somewhere for a job, you still feel like that dancer that started and is still struggling and is still hustling, you know, you still feel those things. So like in space, like my auditions that you've been to, like I'm very like, just have fun. Like I think what helps me be a good business owner and something like dance related is that I am before anything a dancer, you know? So I understand the stress and I understand the nerves, and that's why like auditions and things I do, I'm like, no, just have fun. Like I don't want this to be stressful. Like I don't want you guys to still walk out, take like a class if you want to, and walk out like accomplished and not down, you know, about not knowing or making it. Even my audition process is so different. Like I don't cut people. I call everybody. I add whoever I need to add to the roster depending on their availability, and then that's it. Like I'll call you or put things there, and if you're available, let me know and I'll let the client choose. Like whatever it is, but everybody gets an opportunity. So that's I think something that I wish I had starting out. So now I'm like, why not be the one to make it happen for others, you know?
And that's another amazing thing that sets you apart, is that you're the only audition that I've been to that's like that, you know, that takes it and is like, no, these are the people, you know, you can pick and you can choose, and you're, you know, on my roster. And that's also amazing, because that sounds like what you started with was that core value of bringing people together, and it's just like making it a place for everyone. And you have also brought that into a professional space, not just into the community of like creating that M&M show, but now you are professional booking dancers and making it more, and you've still held on to that value, which is, you know, amazing. You started there and you're still there. And again, not every company or person can say that. Because there's times where you can get caught up in the industry and get caught up in that professional world of like, okay, well now I can't have this person because this client doesn't like them, and that would have been so easy to like kind of follow.
I've actually stopped working with clients when they've said anything negative about any of my girls.
Wow.
Like, I think I'm not willing to sacrifice my morals and how I feel about things. Like, I'm not willing to work with you if you have a sick mentality or you have like nasty mentality. Like, I just rather not. Like, I'd rather not have work than work with people that have like this mentality of women, or especially because I do work mainly with women. I do have men, but women, like if they have mentality of women are objects or anything like that, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't work with you. I can't put my girls in that space, in that setting, because I've struggled so much for myself to not be put in those settings and places where I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to work somewhere, or I don't want you to be treating me a certain way because of a certain look I have, because we get that a lot, you know? Like, I don't like those things. So if I can create a safe space or create like a safe, I guess, company for women and people, then why not do it? Same thing like our events. Like, that's the whole reason why we started doing this to begin with, you know, to be able to like give everybody that like safe space, you know?
Exactly. And that's, again, just amazing that that's something that's a non-negotiable for you.
No.
Was there ever like, was there ever a time or like maybe a certain turning point where that was, you know, maybe a client said that and you kind of wavered on that belief? Or were you always just very like, no, if you don't treat me right, it's, you know, we're done?
Yeah, I think when I started Las Vegas Dance Movement, for sure, I was still trying to figure out what kind of company I wanted to be. Like, I knew inside of my heart, like, based on all the traumas and situations I've been put in, what I didn't want it to be. But I think starting out, just making those decisions were very difficult for me, because when you start out, you want to make sure you start booking, you start getting people, and you start getting a good of constant girls and things like that. And it's hard. I'm not a company or anything that makes anybody sign a contract or makes you be exclusive, because I'm a freelancer. Like, I'm going to go work where I'm making money. And I've even told my girls, if you can't make it because something else better comes out, go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of other girls that can cover or can do it or whatever it is. But yeah, at the beginning, it was difficult. I think it was difficult, not so much because of my values or internally what I wanted to do, but if you have to change other people's minds as well, as far as you have to educate people. In the Latin scene back in the day, in clubs and stuff like that, paying go-go dancers $50 an hour, paying like a specific rate was not a thing. It was kind of like they can show up and get tips. So even just starting out was very difficult, because you have to educate people, like, no, you have to pay them for their job. You have to educate people about like manners. Like, you can't touch a girl. It's not a strip club. There are atmosphere dancers. And in the Latin world, there's a fine line. Like, maybe people don't know, but in the Latin nights or clubs, back in the day, there was a fine line between those two things. Like, people, if they saw a dancer in like a box or something, they would think they were strippers, and that would have to be like, no, these are girls that are supposed to give atmosphere to your place and, you know, create ambience. And even those things, like, they didn't exist before, I feel like, in the Latin world for a while. Like, I worked with different clubs here in Vegas, Latin clubs, because that's my specialty, I guess, or like even Latin artists or music videos, like knowing the difference between women that are gonna like just do whatever you want them to do and women that are professional and they want to be able to like be it, you know? Like, I'm coming to be in your music video. This is what my job description is. I'm coming to your club to be an atmosphere dancer. This is what my description is. This is what you gotta pay. All those little things, I feel like throughout the years I've had to kind of educate. Like, that's when the whole fusing of worlds, you know, finding those lines are as well, because in the Latin world, you had to teach what the industry world, how the industry works. And then the industry world, just educating them that Latin industry is also part of the industry. Just things like that. It's always been like challenging, you know, because I feel like before it didn't exist. I don't think worlds used to collide as much as they do now. Now, thankfully, you know, Bad Bunny, Daddy Yankee, all of them kind of made the Latin world explode, and everybody wants a Latin night. So now it's like worlds are colliding and they can work together, you know? So just things like that, like, I think have been a challenge for sure. So I have never wavered in my values, but I think for sure it has been challenging to educate both worlds on what Latin people can do, and then educating Latin people what industry or how professional things are managed or done, you know? Like, there's like those situations, I guess, that have been hard.
So it sounds like approaching it, you kind of had a realization of like, oh, yeah, they really just don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
they just
so it
don't
was just
know. No, and I never felt like they were doing it on purpose or anything with bad seed. I think it's just they didn't know. You know, like if they message me, say, hey, I need a girl like to be in a music video, and I'm like, cool. As soon as she's done working, you have to pay her, or send Zelle me and I will pay her, or check, and I need this by this day. You have this many days. Like, they were never used to that. It was kind of like they had you waiting sometimes, and I'm like, no. Now you have contracts, and this is what happens when you cancel on me, and this is what happens when you waste somebody's time. Like, all of those things have been new, I think, and challenging. But yeah, a lot of clubs don't. Now I see that, even that format. Like, I think in Latin clubs, I was one of the first people to be like, no, the rate is now $50 an hour. For example, I don't mind talking about it. It's $50 an hour. We're not going to pay a girl $30. Like, not just that, like, Latin is Latin dancing. It's like reggaeton. It's full on cardio. You gotta dance.
Heart rate is up. You are sweating.
Yeah.
You are sweating.
Yeah, it's not like pretty atmosphere, beautiful goddess in the middle of a room. It's like you gotta get down, and Latinos are critical. I'm critical when I go to a club and I'm like, girl, you better move it. Like, you know, you gotta dance. Like,
you better represent.
Exactly. So like those things have been like very interesting to say the least. Just teaching them, just to like getting people used to it. And now, like I said, I see people with the same, you know, like frame of like, that's what they charge because I knew that's what I used to charge, or there's a look, and now like girls plan the same similar looks, and even clubs hiring other companies to put girls for their clubs, and it ends up being all my girls, which is also funny. It ends up being all the girls that I've trained or have danced with me, and I never get involved in none of that because I'm like, you're still hiring the girls I wanted to make sure they were out there, and they're out there. So that's what I wanted. I don't care what you do, as long as, you know, everybody's doing it correctly. Like, their pay is done. Like, I don't take cuts from people. Like, I take cuts from the clubs and from people who need me, you know what I mean? But like, I still, as a dancer, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, this is what I'm paying you and you got to take it from the dancers. Like, I refuse to that. I'm like, no, like, this is what you need to pay them, and then if you want me to do this service for you, this is what you have to pay me.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have to stand my ground, because sometimes it's easy for people. That's another thing I've had to like teach them. You can't just say you're going to pay this and expect me to cut a dancer's pay when their minimum is this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think a lot of people, like, it took a long time for people to respect that. And I think it was a struggle because I'm also involved in places where it's male dominant, you know? Thankfully, I've always had my husband next to me where, like, don't mess with me because he will get mad. But it's been difficult, I think, as a woman to be able to be like, in a world where there's a lot of men, to be able to like stay dominant and be able to like say no to things and stay strong and stay behind it has been a challenge too. But still never change like who I am. I know that for sure. I always like tell myself in the morning, like, who do you want to be today? You know, like, what do you want to do, or what's the next thing? I don't live in the past, and I do try dwell a lot on what the future holds. So I'm always like, hey, you know what? Like, this is next. Who wants to follow me? Let's go. So yeah.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing that through all the years, again, that you've just stayed so true to who you are and your core values. It's got to be really cool to see different clubs and everything kind of hold the same structure that you kind of started or you did a while back, and be like, oh, I kind of had a little influence in that, or like, oh, you know, that's gotta be a cool feeling.
I think it's like all trial and error and learning. I also learned a lot from other people, seeing what other people do, and if I can also give a little bit of like structure, I guess, and see other people apply it, that's amazing. You know, that's great. I'm horrible at taking credit for anything, but I know I learned a lot of things from other people and just seeing how they work, but still standing my ground for sure. My values, and be like, no, I'm not crossing that line. That line is not gonna cross.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm gonna go back a little bit, because you said, so Las Vegas dance movement stemmed from the M&M show. At like what point, maybe if you can remember, doing the M&M show, were you like, oh, like a Las Vegas dance movement started to evolve? Was it early on, or was it later in like running the M&M show?
I think it was later on. I was having a crisis of like identity crisis based on everything that we talked about, of like, oh my God, I don't fit here, I don't fit there. It kind of happens I felt a little bit like how I've always felt throughout my life, where I'm like, am I Mexican enough? Am I American enough? Am I like, do I speak more Spanish? Do I speak more English? And I'm like, am I more Latin? Am I more industry? Like, what am I? You know, just being in those things. And I really found my voice with the M&M show, 100%, because I was like, oh, I'm so proud of this. I have like the best partner I can have. We're a team, just feeling like you're in a part of something and you're making something grow, and just all those things fuel you. And I was just like, but like, there's still something missing, right? Like there's still something missing. It took a while to get there. I'm not gonna lie. It took a while to get there, and it was based on my husband's symphony. It was based on that, where I'm like, wow, getting a group of women together, so talented and so driven. Like, I didn't feel like I measured, to be honest. When I used to be part of that group, I felt like I was the least talented one, but I was the one that did the job to like make them be together. And I was like, wow, this is something I'm really good at, getting people together and scheduling and rehearsing and make sure and there's no fights because you're still in a group with women. And like things like that. And symphony was it was something that was also in Italy. Like my husband had this company in Italy and Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were working hand in hand with an amazing choreographer called Danny Conti, basically dancer from one of the best companies in Italy. But my husband had this vision, and then it was kind of my job to make it happen in Vegas, and then finding the women and putting them together. And then I was like, ooh, I love doing this. I love putting things together, you know? Again, just having a crisis. One day I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to have my own group of girls that get booked everywhere and anywhere. Just kind of like I went into a fit. Just kind of like, I'm over this. I'm going to make sure everybody feels good. And that's what happened. But it honestly happened because of the M&M show. It gave me that strength to be like, I can't do this. And I am better than everybody. Like, I'm just equally as good as everybody, you know, like not putting myself down. The M&M show gave me that confidence. My husband gave me that confidence. Symphony gave me that confidence. And like, just also what people say to you give you confidence, you know, like just being like, wow, like I see what you're doing. Like, how can I be part of it? Or musicians or artists going to Firefly or going to our events and being like, hey, like I need girls for a music video, and you're so out there, like who do you know, can you bring me something? Actually, that's also how Las Vegas movement started, because it was that just word of mouth, just being like, hey, you need somebody for a Latin video, contact Mayra and Max. Or you need somebody for like a Latin club, yeah, I know this girl who is Latin, who's everywhere and knows these many people, like reach out to her. And everything's just been like that. So yeah.
So when you said it kind of took a while, did you mean like it took a while to realize that's what you wanted to do? Like that realize that was that like kind of hole you wanted to fill? Because you said that felt like there was something missing, and it kind of took a while.
Yeah, I think it took a while to find my purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So more personally, I guess emotionally, just find my purpose. That's what took a while. I think I've always known since I'm little that I loved dance, that I love being part of things. I just never knew how to make it happen, because I never felt like I fit into one thing.
Yeah.
So it was just hard to find that, it took a while. It's crazy because a lot of people find their confidence like later or earlier on in life and find their purpose. And even now that I'm turning 32, I'm like reconsidering like what's my next chapter. Like I feel like I'm getting older, like longevity in the dance world is, so many years, and what's next. That's another thing that also made me like think about Las Vegas movement, was how can I have longevity in this world that I'm passionate about? Like, putting shows together, choreographing more, teaching more.
Kind of making that next step up in your career rather than just dancing. You were like, you kind of saw an opportunity not only to bring people together, a community together, but also performers, book them, and kind of visualize where your next, level up was.
Yeah. It's like so hard for me to like even talk about it, because like, everything is so tied together and so like squished together, and it all happened around the same time, but then it didn't. I feel like a long time to me is like 5 years, but a long time to people is like 10, 15 years. For me, it's like 5 years is a long time. Like if I don't know what I'm doing in the next 5 years, I start getting anxiety.
A lot can happen. A lot can happen in a day.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm like, when I say a long time, I think there was only like a gap between the M&M Show and Symphony, which was 3 years, and then Las Vegas movement was like about 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah, it was a long time for me. I'm not a person that likes to not have control. So when I don't know what my next move is or what my next thing is, like I freak out. So like having this crisis, I'm telling you, Las Vegas movement came from that. Like, okay, this is accomplished, this is done, what's next? This is accomplished, this is done, what's next? Like I can't sit and wait for things to come to me. Like I need to go get them and chase them. And I have that mentality from my parents, because they're like that. Like my parents are bosses. They hustle. They're very much like, no, you can't just be a dancer. Like, you need to have your team. No, you can't do this. You need to be this. You can't be like one more student. You need to be the instructor's right hand. Like, they always push me for an extra thing. So that's where I'm at with things. I'm like, what can I do next? What can I do next? That could be better. But that did take a while, I think. Las Vegas Dance Movement took a while. Yeah. Because it's so me. It's so me, and I didn't know who I was. So that was a long journey to get there.
That's amazing, though, and I'm gonna say it's blown up, because I like see you and I see your dancers literally everywhere, and that's amazing. Like, did you have any idea what it would be when you started it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I always strive for more, like I said, but I didn't think it was gonna go further than like just getting my friends booked. Like my close friends of girls that I know and I trust, and I never did that. And I've always worked with all the clients and clubs that hire me. Like they've always been like, well, we want you though. So I've always been part of that. I just recently decided not to go dance anymore. It just happened like 2-3 months ago. So I stopped completely, and now I'm just kind of like in the back, just kind of like doing things, getting the girls there, and it's definitely different. I didn't think I was going to get to a point where I could be home and not at the club, like that was, even that, like that's what I consider blowing up. I'm like, you know what? I no longer have to kill myself. Like now I just make it happen, get people to go where they're supposed to and stay home and sleep at a normal time. Not have to wake up at 10 and be back at 4 in the morning. Like things like that. Like it's so, they're so different now. Like that's my next chapter right now. I'm like at home with my husband and my puppy, and I'm just kind of like, this is so different than the rhythm that I was in last year or years before, because I've been going dancing even before I was 21.
Wow.
And I'm 32 now. So it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
And now like this,
Is
it's different.
Yeah. What's the most surprising thing you think that has come your way involving Las Vegas Dance Movement, whether it was a project or an event or anything that you can think of where you were like, whoa?
Oh, it's so weird. I don't know if this is weird to say that, but it's something that's come. It's so weird. It's more than events or venues or anything. I think the people, 100%. Like I live for the people that I surround myself with and that work with me and that work with us. Like there's certain people that are like for life now. Like they're there with me for life. I call them best friends forever. I met my best friends. I met my husband. I met some of the most important people in my life through dance. So doing the M&M Show, doing Las Vegas Dance Movement, like, like you meet people and you learn their stories and you learn about their lives. And for me, that's an experience. Even more than like shows or gigs or anything like that. Like I think that's what I appreciate the most out of the M&M Show and Las Vegas Dance Movement. The people, for sure. Like I love them. Like, I love them. I love everyone. And then aside from that, there's been a lot of fun things for Las Vegas Dance Movement and the M&M Show. Just seeing what our potential is and the places and platforms that we've been part of, like those are things that sometimes I'm like, wow, we have events on the Strip. Wow, like that's huge. Like I never thought that was going to happen. I mean, we were having our first event in a patio, and now you have them like Brewdogs in the middle of the Strip where you see the full city, like you have that Vegas feeling to it and like things like that. We work with Mandalay Bay, Hard Rock, MGM, Caesars Entertainment, everybody. And it's a great feeling. Definitely not what fulfills me completely, but it's a great feeling to know that the M&M Show's got into that. And then Las Vegas Dance Movement to just be able to see all the specifically women that I work with out of work and them still be so cool and so good to each other. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that to you, like that's a check for me. Like I've never had issues in Las Vegas Dance Movement with anyone. And it's been like very interesting because people are like, that's a lot of girls. You
didn't just give them work. You gave them like a family, like a community. You gave them
like we're part of something that's not toxic. We're part of something that's not toxic.
That is a big win.
We're part of something that like when we work each other and see each other, like we receive each other with good energy. And I make sure even when I'm in work, when I used to work, that I was like, can you do this? No? Okay, no problem. I'm always like, no worries, no problem. Like I think the way that I am helps women be the same around each other. Like I don't like to argue with people. It's a waste of time. I'm like, it's a waste or being in a bad mood is a waste of time. Like I'm like, no, I just want to work and make sure I have fun and it's chill and no stress. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, that's not the way you run a business, but that's the way you make sure your business lasts. You know what I mean? And that you want people to continue working with you. Like we recently just talked about like, I wouldn't work there. I wouldn't do that. Like, you know what I mean? That feeling of I don't want to go back. Like I don't want to ever have anybody feel like they can come back when they're ready or, when they want to work. Like that's not cool. I don't like that.
Yeah. And again, not every company has that mindset. So again, that just also shows your character and who you are now going into your company and spreading to the people who work for you. And like, because word gets around as well. People will be like, oh, how is it dancing for Mayra? And like
I know. I've always wondered that. I'm like, I wonder what they say. 'Cause I don't ask people. I'm like, what do you like working with me? I feel like I guess thing is like, if they continue working with me, then I'm doing something right. So that's what I take it for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in the creation of this, and whether it was recently or maybe one time a while ago, was there any point that you were like, maybe you started it and you were like, oh no, I don't know if I can keep doing this anymore? Like, were there any major challenges throughout?
Yeah. It's hard to balance work life and personal life. And I feel like that goes for everyone, especially as dancers. Our schedules are. I messaged you about this. They're just, people don't understand. Like, family doesn't understand sometimes, like, why you're not able to make a gathering or things like that. Or even now, like, being married, like, just being able to give that time and space for my husband as well, being home, being present, being able to even clean your house sometimes is a challenge, like, it's just balancing work life and personal life, like, has many times made me doubt if I wanted to continue doing it. Because I'm just kind of like, yes, we have the M&M Show and we work together and I'm working with my partner, but how much of that time is personal time and not work time? Like, finding that fine line has been, I think every time I go through something where I'm like, I think I'm done, is because of that, just feeling the pressure of personal things and work things. It's not easy. Like, so most of the time I have to be on my phone. My phone is my work, or just not even being able to make it to my dad's birthday sometimes because I got booked for this contract that's like 3-4 days and you can't miss because that's not what you do. And just being a freelancer, like, letting people understand, like, in your personal life, that this month I might be booked this many times, but then next month it's not guaranteed. Like, I don't know, so I can't say no, and internally I also don't want to say no because I love it. Not many people can say I'm doing what I love, like, so I'm blessed by that. So I don't take it for granted. But it is not easy balancing personal and work life, like, at all.
It's very interesting because talking to the artists that I've talked to so far, that's probably the biggest challenge that we've all faced. And especially when you're creating something from scratch and creating something original, it's like, how do you put all of your heart and soul into it, but also still keeping some of that for yourself and for the things that, refuel you, like spending time with your husband or your loved ones, or still seeing family, that, like, craziness. And that's what makes us doubt what we're doing, rather than sometimes the logistical things, right? Whether it's, trying to find the right clients, and sometimes it's not those things that you would think it is, right? Or clients telling you no. Sometimes it's just that fact of, how do I balance,
one thing and the other.
my soul and my body's needs and my mental needs, it's
my mom once told me, like, a typical Latin household, they make so many sacrifices for their kids, and they feel very strong about education. They feel very strong about, like, make sure you're doing the right thing, make sure you have the right job and things like that. And my mom was very clear with me, and she's like, any artist's life, any type of artist, musician, painter, dancer, singer, whatever, he's like, they have to sacrifice a lot. Like, if you're willing to do it, then I support you. But if you're not willing to sacrifice it, like, you better not even get started. So every time I have those moments where I'm like, I can't do this anymore, I'm like thinking about that in the back of my mind. I'm like, you know what? I said I was going to do it. I wanted to be a rebel and I wanted to go against having a regular 9 to 5. Then this is what it is. This is what you get, Especially when you have a business, you can't just wake up one day and decide, like, I can't do it anymore, because people do depend on you, So it's like added stress, and you just really need to get good at managing and balancing that out. It takes an emotional toll for sure, but everything has been worth it. I think everything's been worth it. I think where I'm at right now, I feel like it's been worth it. And then it's also pushed me to think about what's next. you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's always fun.
Do you think you recently came into that, like, good balance of work life?
Yes, just recently. I think the last 10 years, as difficult as they were, I knew they were gonna be like the groundwork for what was next for me. Like even that, like not having to be at a club anymore, like I knew I had to make sacrifices for a few years and get it known and get the girls known and people being comfortable and confident that if I'm not there, things can still go and run smoothly, you know? Those things, yeah, like I barely 3 months ago, I think, I was like, oh, okay, this is what all those sacrifices were for, you know? And still like that now, I'm like rethinking. I'm like, so what am I gonna do with this ladies dance movement now? Like, what's next for them? Like, what else can I like involve the ladies in, or should I even keep doing it? I was even just talking about this, like, you know, I don't know if you know, but Senior Frogs is closing.
Oh, me.
It's been there for years, not us, just the club.
Mhm.
It's been there for years, and even that, I think that's made me rethink, like, ooh, maybe it doesn't have to be just atmosphere, go-going, or anything like that. You know, like I feel like Las Vegas Dance Movement is gonna have like a rebranding moment. You know? So
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
thinking
so it
about-
sounds like you have some plans in the works.
I do.
Oh.
I definitely do. I wanted to feel like a community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to feel like something for everyone.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We'll talk about it later. I'll come back and talk about it.
Oh, yay. That means you'll have to be back.
Yeah, that means I have to be back for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's so exciting. So it sounds like you are, you know, kind of not closing a chapter, obviously, but kind of like a little transformation in this, like, oh my gosh, my company is now running itself, right? You don't have to be there anymore. You're now taking that next step, and you're now that has such a solid foundation. You're like, now I can transform it even more and start doing new things.
Now, a little more. I can get creative.
Yeah,
That's always fun. That's what I'm saying. Like I
Mhm.
feel like till now I realize, especially like I'm a firm believer of like when the one door closes, another one opens, or
Mhm.
you know, I love to dream. I love to create. I love to figure out things, and you know, like I have a great support system. So I'm like, why not? Why not try it? Why not challenge myself, or why not do something new? Like, you know, this has worked, and we know it works. So I can always go back to something that works. But
Yeah.
you know, nothing ever grows if you don't get out of your comfort zone. Like 100%. Nothing will ever work. Like you stay stuck in the same thing, you know, and that gets boring. I get bored easily. Like I said, every 5 years, if I'm not doing something new, and then I'm not doing anything, you know? So
I love that 5 years is your like timer.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
like 5 years.
5 years, that's nice. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, for sure. 5 years is my timer. I've never put it into words, but I guess it is. Yeah. 5 years is my timer. Yeah.
I love it. So total like complete subject change. Just for fun. Mayra, what is your funniest performing story?
Oh.
Or the funniest thing that's happened to you?
I feel like it's funny, but not funny. I feel like it's gross, I guess. I'm like one of those people that swears that she doesn't get nervous before she dances, like, or performs. I don't know why. It's just
Okay. Never? You've never gotten nervous before?
It's not that I don't get nervous. It's like when I'm back there and I'm waiting to go on stage or whatever it is, I'm just so ready. I'm
Okay.
like, my brain already told itself, like, you need to go get this done. Like, I'm always like work mode in my head. So that's how I am with myself. I'm very much like, that's it. Like, why even get nervous? Like,
Yeah.
but I had one situation where I wasn't dancing with my regular group. I was dancing for a very known choreographer dancer that I respect. I think that always happens with somebody that you're like, you know, is your idol or one of your idols, and just the nerves of, not nerves, but being back there and him just look at me and be like, don't fuck up. Like, don't. It's kind of like your idol telling you, like, don't mess up was probably the worst thing. So yeah, basically getting ready to go to the stage, you get told that, and then you feel nauseous. And then I'm like, oh my God, I need to throw up. I need to throw up. And then they announce the performance. So over here with like throw up in my mouth, doing a whole routine. It was just bad. It was just like a bad thing. Like, I think that's never happened to me. I was like, I need to hold this back. My face it was just saying like, girl, you need to get it together. You need to like hold those, whatever you feel like is going to come out, don't let it come out. So you're dancing for like 5 minutes.
Oh, geez.
Just feeling like you have to throw up and vomit and you can't. Like, you have to hold it back. You have to hold it back. And to me, that has been hilarious because that's never happened to me. Like, I've never been in a position where I'm nervous or stressing out before a performance. Like, usually I get stressed out if people start asking me questions or anything. So I'm always like, I go away. But even being like dancing with other people that you've never danced with and having your idol tell you like not to fuck something up, it's like this stress that I've never felt before, like ever. So to me, that was funny because I was like waiting to finish the routine and go and vomit where I needed to vomit. Like, that to me was like the funniest thing in the world because I never felt so uncomfortable. Like, so uncomfortable.
Wait, did you actually vomit afterwards?
I did.
Oh, you did?
I did. I think the whole, like, I don't know. I respect this person so much. Probably the only one director or choreographer that's ever made me cry and vomit and sweat and bleed all in one. It's like Fernando Sosa, him. I danced for a showdown he had, and it's like this thing where it's already challenging as it is because you have to learn a routine like in 8 hours to perform it at night. Like, you have
the same day.
They start like 2 days before.
Okay.
But you don't have that many hours. And then you have to perform it. And then you have the added pressure that he adds pressure to you where you're like, he's like, hey, you're going to be in the middle. You're going to dance with one of my dancers, Vincenzo. And then right before you go on stage, he's kind of like, don't fuck it up. Just the stress. I'm like, oh no.
Well, I mean, it's good you could look back at it and laugh and be like, what are the odds that I get to dance with one of my idols?
He's never known that the whole performance I was holding my vomit bag. The whole performance. And I was very casually just like walking down and disappeared for a second, did what I needed to do and come back and was like, yeah, let's go take photos. Let's like nothing happened. I never told anybody that either because I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, like that's like the worst thing that could happen to you. Like just feeling like you gotta, and you're in the middle. Like I was in the middle. I was dancing with one of his dancers.
The stress just keeps adding.
Yeah. And the thing is that I don't think he even realized he did that. Like that he realized that he was like, hey, like don't, you know. And I was already under the like a watchful eye because I was late to the rehearsal. So it was just kind of those things where I'm like, oh, I can't get under this man's like bad thing. Like I want him to love me and I want him to admire me and I don't want to mess it up. So yeah, it wasn't fun, but it was funny. And just people that knew me were like, what was wrong? You weren't performing the right way. And I was just like, nothing, just holding my vomit back in my head. But nothing like super
crazy.
Funny. I mean, just I think the regular dance things, you know. Changing somebody that wasn't supposed to walking in, unfortunately seeing you completely naked and you're like, I'm sorry,
hey,
which happens
a
lot. And just funny. I've never fallen, so that's a good thing. Never fallen. I've had like a really bad like thing where I was like choking while dancing. And mind you, that salsa dancing is like spinning and things like that, and you're like the whole time. Yeah, those things happen, but nothing like super, I guess, embarrassing. Yeah. I feel like embarrassment equals funny situation.
Yeah, humor. You can look back at it and laugh.
Yeah,
I love
that.
So
nothing major but that. Yeah.
I have a few more questions and then we'll wrap up. So I know you mentioned like one of the challenges with doing on this journey with the M&M Show and Vegas Dance Movement was like learning to balance your work-life schedule. Is there anything else really big that stands out that you learned in the process that maybe you didn't think you would learn about?
Ooh, that I learned in the process.
Whether it was like writing contracts or whether it was like different maybe something on the logistical side that
you have to wear a lot of hats when you have a business or when you have like a brand. You have to wear a lot of hats, like marketing, promoting, moving tables when it's needed, cleaning messes. Just, you have to be able to be ready to do everything and anything for your brand, for your company, for your group, for the ladies that work with you, for the nightclubs you work for. You have to be, you do sacrifice a lot, but like it's always nice and like accomplishing, I guess, feeling when you're like, I did everything. Like I promoted it, I marketed it, I made flyers, I shared a post, I edited a video, like everything that you gotta do. Like you just, I think that's what I learned, that like you gotta be ready to do everything and anything, like for sure. And it doesn't, it's a lot of stress because it's not just the M&M Show or this movement. Like I have classes and I have family and I have, you know, things that like you need to be able to balance. So I think that's just like the main thing. Be able to wear hats, all the hats that you need to wear.
Yeah.
Being able to balance everything that you do in your life and that you want to do. Because aside from work and family, everything else is extra. And like knowing how much of it you want to sacrifice or how much of it you really want to do. So all of those things, I think. That's what I had to learn. Contracts, like you said, invoicing. For a while, they're like, send me an invoice. And I'm like, how do I make an invoice? Freaking Googling everything. Yeah, you have to do a lot of the work. So just that. I think that's what I learned the most.
Yeah.
How to be versatile, like doing things. Makeup, hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a lot of
MC.
skills.
I hate talking in mics. And just hearing my own voice. So like at events where you have to like announce people and keep a thing going, like I had to get comfortable with that. Yeah, getting out of my comfort zone was definitely another thing that I learned. So yeah, pretty much.
So if there's someone out there listening who like maybe wants to start something of maybe this sort or some type of artistic project that they see a hole in their community, kind of maybe similar to you, and they want to start something, do you have any advice for them?
Do it. For sure. Well, one thing, do it. Like, I think we can all dream and have ideas and concepts, but you're never going to really know they're going to work if you don't do it, you know? So, like, do it. Definitely, like, I guess, figure out what you want to accomplish. So everything you do is for that, you know? For, like, the final goal, like, the vision of what that, like if you're able to also like see where this is gonna be in the future, how this is gonna affect, like I said, your community or anything like that. Like if you feel like it's gonna make a change or an impact, then do it, you know? Like I think that's a lot of people hold back when it comes to creating or doing things that they want to do because they're scared. And I'm like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, it wasn't there before. So if it doesn't work, then okay. But what if it does? You know, what if it does work? Like, you don't know how much of an effect you can have. Like, for me, that's like the biggest thing. Like, I really wanted to represent Latin community, represent Latinos, which sometimes we were not as represented before, to be able to like unite worlds, you know, when worlds collide. I love that. Like my classes are called fusion for a reason. I want to put everything in one box and mesh it and bend it and blend it, and it's just the fun of it, you know. So yeah, I honestly feel like even driving here, I was like, wow, like Abbie's really doing this. Like, this is really cool, you know? Like, I wonder how long you've been thinking about this. I give you props. I was like, you know what? Like, I was looking at your interviews and I was like, wow, that's really good. Like, I admire people that go for like their dreams or their visions. Like, yeah, it's admirable, you know? Like, that's why I'm like, do it. You never know what's going to come out of it.
You never know what's going to come out of it. And hey, at least you tried.
Exactly.
You know, give it time, try it out. And if it doesn't work, you know, and give yourself a timeline. Try it for a year. Try it for this long. Try it for, if you're Mayra, you try it for 5.
Try it for 5 years. Yeah, you try it for 5 years.
And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But yeah, at least you tried. So if anybody wants to come vibe with you, where can maybe they can follow you on Instagram, right? And they can find classes or follow LV, your dance movement, Las Vegas dance movement, and they can see where they're going to perform and maybe like go vibe with them.
Yeah. So we are in different nightclubs. It just kind of depends where they need them. Or where they need dancers or music videos or whatnot. But yeah, if you just follow us on Instagram, the M&M Show.lv, or at Las Vegas what is that called? Underscore. Las Vegas Dance Movement. You kind of can see and keep up with what we're doing. Our events are pretty like sporadical in a way too. Like sometimes it will be a specific season with like a venue. Like for the summer, we're at Brewdogs. It's beautiful, like top, roof area. And then it's winter, so we're at a pause. But then we're gonna start now like some socials and some more kind of going back where we started. So we're gonna go back to like more salsa, more bachata. Even my classes are gonna change a little bit. I'm gonna go back to just dancing salsa, kind of going back where I started. So like, yeah, that's what's next for the M&M Show. I think we're gonna give it our last little hooray, going back to the salsa scene and the bachata scene. Yeah, we see it growing, and I'm so happy too. I'm like, yay. The growth of everyone. I see people now that I don't know. Like, I see the community is growing so much, so I'm happy about that. It's so inviting, so I'm like, I want it back. Yeah.
Mayra, I don't know if anybody's told you this before, but you have made such a lasting impact on the city. Probably more than you have any idea of. At least from everything you've told me so far, and just to watch you and your journey and knowing the girls that you work with and seeing them, I feel like your wave created a ripple effect that just has the rest of the ocean to go through. Absolutely. And all of your handles will be in the show notes so people can follow you, keep up, and come vibe and dance with you.
Yeah, come vibe with me.
Yes.
You can come to Millennium. I have 2 classes, and I'm going to have a third one.
And tell me why I have to teach during both of them.
I know.
All the classes that I want to go to, I always have to teach or work. And I'm like, this is so unfortunate.
So every Thursday at Millennium, every Saturday at Millennium, look for fusion choreography, Latin fusion. And then starting 2025, salsa bachata classes.
Yay.
I'm
Come
excited.
dance with Mayra.
Come dance with me.
Yay.
I'm fun, I promise.
She's so fun. I love it.
I'm fun, I promise. You won't get bored.
Well, thank you so much, Mayra, for sharing your story. So much love.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Before the Curtain. Please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever it is you listen to the podcast. We love to hear your virtual round of applause. If you know of a production or artist that deserves to have their story told, send us an email or message us on Instagram by clicking the link in the description.